Welcome back, everyone. It's Alan, and we look very, very presentable today, which some of you might be thinking maybe that's not all the time, but we always do, obviously. But today, I've got someone very, very special on the channel, and his name is Sammy Arora. Sammy, welcome. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Cheers for the invite.
Anytime.
Nice seeing you too.
Absolutely. We did this actually over a beer when we were in PSG away, when we won 1-0 actually. And we said we need to get this done. We've been contemplating it for a while. I know you want to get on. And Sammy is the founder of Pure Padel Clubs. Now, as you all know who watch this or listen to this on Spotify or Apple podcasts, paddle is something I love doing in my spare time. I made some great connections from it, some great friends as well. And Sammy is definitely part of the paddle craze. So thanks for coming on. Love talking about paddle. I'm sure we'll talk about other stuff as well. So, Sammy, just to start with, tell me a bit about your background. So, where did you grow up and what were you doing before Pure Padel?
Yeah, so I've recently just graduated from Durham University. I graduated 2 years ago, studied business management and marketing with a year abroad. And I did my year abroad in Milan. And the reason I brought up Milan was because that was kind of where I first started actually playing. And when I was in Milan, that's where, I turned up to a city on my own and I was thinking, right, I need to find friends. I played paddle a couple of times before. I'll tell you the whole timeline eventually, but that's where I really first started playing. And that's how I made my friends. And then I came back to England and I realized, right, why is there no paddle here?
Yeah. And where do you find, do you use Playtomic? You can explain what Playtomic is, I'm sure, but did you use Playtomic to jump on those games?
Exactly, yeah.
Do you want to just explain what Playtomic is?
Yeah, so Playtomic is the booking system that you use to book paddle courts. And contrary to tennis courts, you pay a membership fee with your local tennis club, and you get to play as many times as you want for a certain amount for your fee.
Yeah.
In paddle, it's different. It's a pay-to-play membership model. So pay-to-play model. So there's no membership at all, and you want to book a court, you pay your quarter, and you play.
Brilliant. Yeah, Playtomic's something I use a lot, as you probably see from your own Playtomic of Pure Padel.
I've checked the accounts, top customer.
But you've been very kind there. There's a few more I know who play a lot more than me, but yeah, I'm not a bad one anyway. So, okay, so that's how you got into paddle itself.
Well, it actually starts earlier than that.
Let's
go. Should we actually go from the beginning of how I started?
Let's go right from the beginning how you started. Yeah. So we were at Milan and we're going to go to the start now.
Yeah, we're going straight. So the first time I ever actually picked up a paddle racket, or actually ever heard of it.
What year was this, by the way?
So in 2018, my dad he says, right, Sammy, and the whole family, right, get changed, look presentable, but wear your sports kit. I'm taking you somewhere very special. And we're all a bit confused, and we're heading towards Liverpool. I'm going, there's no way. There's no way. I'm a lifelong Liverpool fan.
Yeah, yeah.
And we rock up to the Melwood gates at the time, the Liverpool training ground gates, and I'm thinking, there is, what am I doing?
Did you think you were getting a game for Liverpool, did you?
I thought, I'm potentially going to have to score a pen, and, in Melwood, I thought, I don't want to embarrass myself. And I turn up, and Klopp shakes my hand.
Right.
And he goes, hello, come join me for a paddle game. And I'd never heard of paddle in my life. He's like, and he explained the rules of paddle.
Okay.
And he explained to me that the backstory behind paddle in Melwood is that when Klopp came to Liverpool, he said in his contract that he wants to commission a paddle court in Melwood because he used it as a great way to bond with his players off the pitch as such. So, he used to play with all the Spanish players. I think the first guy he used to always play with was Moreno. Alberto Moreno.
Oh, God, right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, big into it,
Yeah. And so he was teaching us the rules, and he said, right, guys, we're going to have a game. And I'm thinking, I really can't embarrass myself. But I'm a tennis player, so I picked up the rules.
You can volley well.
Yeah.
Overheads are okay. It's probably off the glass that you probably struggle with to start with. Yeah.
And that was the thing. It was like that. It was the glass side of it that I quite struggled with. But I had the hand-eye, and I could hit the ball over the net, and we could have a rally.
Yeah.
And my sister and my brother, who aren't traditional tennis players, they're not tennis players, they're not sports people as such. They also joined in.
Yeah.
And this is when I realized, when we had a full-on rally. It was me and my sister and I against Klopp and my younger brother, who was 11 at the time. And we literally had a rally. And I was thinking, and I'm thinking to myself, this sport is unbelievably unique. And I'm about 17 at the time. And I'm playing with him. And the fact that I've not managed to have a rally with my sister since, I was playing swing ball back in the day. Do you remember swing ball?
Yeah, dude.
And, and I was having a rally with her and I'm thinking, right, this is just the best sport ever.
Yeah.
And obviously playing with my absolute hero at the time, and still is my hero, was pretty unique opportunity and a pretty unique experience for me. So anyway, finished that, got all the photos, sat with them at lunch with Van Dijk, Robbo, Gini Wijnaldum.
So let me ask you a quick question then. In your opinion, I don't know if you've seen them play, but maybe you played ever since. Who at that time was the best paddle player at Liverpool? Do you know?
So as I mentioned, it was Alberto Moreno.
Thiago must have been quite.
So he was very good a few years. He obviously came a couple of years later.
And he plays a pure paddle quite a lot as well.
Yeah. So he was the one who used to play. I played with Trent before.
Yeah.
He's just athletic. He's got hand-eye, and he can. There's no point even trying to drop shot him because he's at the net. He's there. So anyway, finished. Had that amazing experience, and then I'd been to Tenerife a couple of times, seen the paddle courts. I might have had a couple games there, but kind of forgot about it. And then, as I was explaining to you, went on my year abroad to Milan. I went to a great university, but I was trying to find friends to meet and to socialise with. And I thought, well, how do I actually get to meet people?
Yeah.
So I ended up downloading the Playtomic app, which I'd never heard of, and booking a paddle game with 3 random people.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I met my 3 best friends, all from Barcelona,
right?
Who obviously played all the time. I played a bit and I just picked it up quickly.
So is this your 3 best friends at uni?
My 3 best friends from my year abroad, I met on the paddle court.
Wow.
And it was just, that's when I realised, this is a truly, truly special sport.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I suppose that leads me on to a question in terms of social inclusion. Obviously, you set the paddle club up, and we'll come on to Pure Paddle in a sec. But how do you find, from a social inclusion perspective, how do you find people getting together? Have you seen it yourself at the paddle club where like people have met? What have you seen at Pure Paddle? Yeah,
so my sister's a great example of this. So she's at Goldman Sachs she's banking, she's working silly hours Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
And she's recently caught the paddle bug. And
she leaving Goldman Sachs then, is she?
And she's completely addicted, and she's been so she joined an open match, similar to what I did in Milan. Joined an open match with another lady, also in banking.
Yeah.
And they've generally made best friends ever since. They go for coffees together. They chat before the games, after the games. They go for Aperol spritzes after, and it's And I was talking to her, and that's when when it's someone close to you, like a relative, and when they've caught the bug and they've made a great friend, that's when you can really realise, right, this is really special.
Yeah, I think from my own perspective on paddle as well, I used to play quite high level tennis when I was younger, and I don't know what it is. I can't put a finger on it. The social aspect of it is amazing. I mean, I think in more traditional clubs in, say, Spain, the ones that have done it, Argentina, the ones that have done it for years, you're probably not going to get that social inclusion. But I think that's what the likes of yourself has done really well when you're building these paddle clubs, is to have a coffee shop, is to have a great management team who engage with people who are coming in, because obviously the people in your business are absolutely key in any business.
But I don't want to interrupt you, but what's quite interesting, and I was speaking to the CEO of Playtomic.
Yeah.
So Playtomic's the booking system that we've already, and there's a feature where you can book with strangers, because it's sometimes very difficult to find 3 friends who are all the same level as you at that one time. And we can talk about one of the challenges about paddle, but
of course.
I'd actually think that that's one of the key challenges, is that finding 3 people to actually play paddle with at the time you want to play with.
Yeah.
So they've got a feature where you can people with similar ranking can join your match. And the CEO of Playtomic was telling me that England, or the UK, has got the highest rate out of any country that Playtomic's on, which they're in 70 odd countries. England's number 1, where the uptake of open matches, so people are confident enough to join open matches.
Okay.
Whereas in Asia, apparently it's about 1% of all the bookings are open, as in
private.
So 1% are strangers. 99% are private matches where they don't even mind playing with their.
That's
It's the Brits that have really loved meeting new people. And I don't know what that is.
It must be. I mean, I was just going to say. I mean, I think it's quite hard to put a finger on it, but the other thing I'd say is it must be a cultural thing because maybe British people are more confident than, say, people in Asia, for example. Again, I've got no stats to back that up, but other than the Playtomics that you give me, but it must be a cultural thing. But, obviously that's, from a paddle business perspective, that's really good for you, which brings me on to when did you realise paddle's a serious business opportunity?
Yeah, so this is actually this is a good story. So obviously finished Milan and came back to England and obviously had been dying to play paddle back at home. Obviously, there's no courts. But one club opened up near my house in Wilmslow. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to give their own competitive marketing.
Yeah.
But
I don't even know they are.
I'll also bleep it out too when I say it. But, so it was the 23rd of December. And I was with my dad. It was absolutely freezing cold.
So
it was
December, what year was this?
2022.
Okay.
And it was freezing. And I remember saying to my dad, let's go check out the paddle club. And when I say it was freezing cold, I mean, I think it was like -3 at the time. It was sleeting.
Icy on court.
And I actually said to my dad, I said, Paps, let's go check the occupancy of the club. And I had a bet with him. I said, if two courts or more are full at this time, I said there's no chance. So I said to him, there's no way they're going to be
because
full.
Because
of the weather. And I said to him, if 2 or more are open, are being utilised right now, let's do it together. Let's build this business.
So your business decision was based on the occupancy of one club
at that one
in
time,
Wilmslow on the 22nd, 23rd of December at -3 degrees.
At -2 degrees. And I went down there and obviously all 4 courts are full.
Wow.
The atmosphere was brilliant. The music was pumping. People were wearing their bloody Moncler jackets and Canada Gooses and playing pretty crap paddle.
Yeah.
Excuse my French, but they're playing pretty terrible paddle on the court. They're not really playing properly. And that's when I realised, right, people are obsessed with the sport already if they're playing in those temperatures.
So there you go. Yeah. All based on a December sleeting -3.
So thank you to the competitor.
And thank you to English weather as well.
And thank you very much then.
And thank you to the Moncler coats. So you've decided on that date to start this paddle club, which obviously we'll come on to the name of in a second. So what made you confident that the timing was right?
So what made me confident was the fact that people were happy to play.
Okay.
In such cold, in any temperature.
Yeah.
And it's not just it doesn't have to be warm like I would be playing in Milan.
Yeah.
So that was number 1, and number 2, there was a severe lack of supply of courts in the whole of the Northwest. There was literally 4 in general. So it's not even just the Northwest, the whole of England. At that time, when I in December 2022, I think there was 6 courts.
So obviously, the initial timing was okay. A bit tongue in cheek, but everyone's playing paddle in December. But from that, then when did you decide? Okay, obviously you do your research, of course. So you've done your research. What made you think it's going to take off? Because was it 2023? Did you say?
Mm-hmm.
So that time, I wouldn't say it was that popular. I've only been playing about 7 months, and maybe I'm late to it. I don't know. I'd say I'm a mid-term adopter, shall we say?
Yeah.
But what made you think that was the right time from your research?
From being in Milan, and being in Italy, there's over 15 to 20,000 courts there, and everyone played there.
Wow. How many courts in the UK now, do you know, roughly?
There's only 450 courts.
And there's how many in
15,000.
Wow,
15 to 20.
So huge.
There's a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
And if it's huge in Italy, okay, the weather might be a bit different, but if it's massive out there, then what can be the reason for what's stopping it from booming in the UK?
Yeah.
It's massive in Spain. It's massive in Italy. I don't know if you know about the craze in Sweden.
And then it died off a little bit.
It died off when we talk about that.
Yeah.
died off during COVID, but boomed during COVID.
Yeah.
What stops paddle booming in the UK? So it might have been a bit of a risk.
Yeah.
But I think it was a bit of an intuition from our
absolutely. Yeah, no, of course. And I suppose from my perspective then, so what do you think that you saw in the paddle space that others didn't? So obviously you've talked about sort of the vision, the 15,000 courts. What do you think that you've seen that others didn't in the paddle space itself?
That's a great question. What I think one thing I saw, obviously the court occupancy is the key part of our industry, which is, we fill as many courts as possible. But one angle that not many other clubs realised is the corporate side of things.
Yeah.
So the corporate hospitality and the events, it's great for CSR for a company to come down, bring all their staff down, employees, a team bonding day or a networking day with their clients. And you can charge more than I charged £38 an hour in Alderley. At that time, I charged £38 an hour at Alderley Park. You can then charge £60 an hour, £70 an hour because you're giving them beers on the side, you're giving them food, you're giving them, you're providing them with a tournament, with hot drinks. So we create huge, great packages around it, and then you can charge above that. So the commercials are great.
Yeah,
and not many other companies realise that. And I think we were, I'd say, a bit of I don't want to say pioneer in that space.
Early adopter.
We were early adopter, and the club in Wilmslow, for example, they did 0 events. As soon as we started doing the events, people started latching on, going, right, there's a lot of money in this.
That's really interesting. So, what I want to talk about, just staying on Pure Padel, I suppose. Actually, before I go to the next question, Pure Padel as a name.
ChatGPT. No. So, are you going to ask?
He means that really,
I can show you the thread.
Yeah.
Okay, so it took me ages to. The problem is that there's loads of great names.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember there was Paddle Village, Casa Paddle, Pure Paddle. And I'll think of some others during the podcast. But I remember there was a short list of 5. Right. And actually, that short list actually did come from ChatGPT.
Listen, it's the way of the world. I use it daily.
I literally typed in, brainstorm me 30 paddle names for a paddle club in the UK.
I mean, yeah, full disclaimer as well. When I create questions for this podcast, I find a few articles on normally people who come on, put it in ChatGPT, spits out some questions, and obviously, listen, you edit it as well. Don't get me wrong, and then it gives you stuff.
That on the.
It gives you. Did you know? Did you know? Is that the bit at the end where it just said, "If you've got any other questions, please let me know."
Yeah.
No, but yeah, of course. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and then it took me ages because I just thought. When you're running a business, so when you want to start a business, this is your baby. The name is so important. That's going to stick with you forever.
Of course.
Unless you change it, obviously. But I didn't, at the time, I was like, this needs to be the best name ever. I just couldn't decide out of the 3. I can't remember what the 3 were, the short list were. I think it was Paddle Village and Casa Paddle.
Right.
And Pure Paddle.
Casa Paddle's a bit of a rip-off of Casablanca, in my opinion.
Yeah, potentially. And then it also sounds a bit Spanish. And if I wasn't going for the Spanish vibe and more of a British vibe. And then Paddle Village could have been all right, but still, it just sounded a bit village as such.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound as premium.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And so Pure Paddle just rolled off the tongue.
Alliteration works well as well. Pure Paddle. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that was the name. The name stuck.
The name stuck. And it's never going to change.
No.
So tell me about when you opened the first club then, because obviously at the minute, as of now, as of recording, you've obviously got 2 clubs. So just talk to me about the first club and second club, because I won't spoil it, I'll let you answer, but the first club's obviously outdoor and the second club's indoor, which I think is quite important. So tell me about so how did you find the first club in terms of the land? What made you go to Alderley Park? And that's in Macclesfield, Alderley Edgway. Yeah. Okay. So why did you go there? And obviously tell us about the second part, why you went to Manchester.
So when we started the business, the most important what most people don't know about the paddle industry is it's a development game. I'm in the development industry. What I mean
development
by that,
in what way? Sorry.
What I mean by that, I'm in the construction industry.
Okay.
As in, what I mean is, if I could put paddle courts anywhere, I mean that as in it'd be brilliant if I could just put it anywhere I want. But the nuances behind being able to put them in certain locations and then getting planning permission, which is an absolute nightmare.
Cost of land,
renting space, subleasing, leasing, freeholds. There's so many, it's so complex.
So from start to finish, how long does it normally take for you to, start, find the land, negotiate the rates with landlords, planning and build? So what's the typical time frame for that?
So that is on with a good council, 2 years, generally.
And for Oldley Park, how long did that take you?
So that took me 9 months.
Okay, wow. That's really impressive.
Yeah. And
talk to me then.
Yeah. So the reason why that was the paddle club we built the paddle club on existing tennis courts.
Right.
So there was no planning needed because we were miles away from houses. There's no resi. It's on a business park.
Yeah, exactly. I played. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's on a business park. So there's no noise pollution. There's no lighting pollution because it's on a business park and that's open
all the time.
Yeah, all the time. And so we actually skipped the planning stage and went and kind of took a risk and thought, right, we'll get planning later down the line because the planners aren't going to care.
Yeah.
That turned out to, and I can talk about the
No, we'll talk about that. That's really interesting. So go on.
So we obviously thought that would be the case. The landlord said, yeah, don't worry, you don't need to get planning. It should be fine. And then when we built the courts, obviously we didn't have to do any groundworks because it's on existing. It's on existing tennis courts.
That saved a lot of money, probably.
Saved silly amounts of money because all the money during a traditional paddle club is you're spending loads in the ground. You're digging foundations, huge foundations. We built them literally directly on the tennis courts, so the cost was a lot lower. So the landlord said, "Yeah, don't worry, you don't need to get permission. You don't need to get planning." We thought, "Okay, brilliant, we'll crack on." We operated, we opened, and then the LTA came to us and said,
Lawn Tennis Association, for anyone watching.
Yeah, the Lawn Tennis Association.
Like the FA, Football FA,
They said to us, hang on a second, what are you guys doing? What do you think you're doing? You need to ask, you need to...
From the LTA?
From the LTA. So this is something we didn't know.
Wow, okay.
So the LTA, we're thinking, wait, what have you guys got to do with it? I'd understand if the LTA built the courts, as in like your local tennis club, the LTA will provide funds for the courts. This is on a business park and Bruntwood, the landlord, they installed the course and took on all the risk and they were the ones that funded it. So we thought it's got nothing to do with the LTA. No. But apparently it does because Sport England, with every planning application you put in, Sport England are a statutory consultant. So you have to go Sport England have to sign it off as such.
Right.
Sport England then speaks to the LTA to say, what do you guys think of this? And suddenly the alarm bells are ringing in the LTA going, there's a loss of 3 premium paddle court, tennis courts. There's a loss of 3 premium tennis courts. What? They're kind of shitting themselves as such. Yeah. And by the way, we left 1 tennis court and actually kept, so it was on 3 tennis courts. Yeah. We got rid of 2, built 3 paddle courts on 2 tennis courts and left 1 tennis court and they were kicking off big time.
Wow.
Yeah. And we went through.
How do you do it?
But luckily, and I was thinking, right, well, we're gonna have to shut down, and I was pretty nervous.
And how did you deal with the LTA in terms of them kicking off with the paddle courts?
So that's a great question. What we did was we showed stats on how little the tennis was being used.
Right.
And when I tell you, and this is no word of a lie,
no, it
never got used once. I mean, I remember during the whole time I was there to go on site visits, not a single time was someone using it. The only time people use it was the 2 weeks during Wimbledon, was the people playing tennis. Look, in tennis clubs, people play tennis.
Yeah, it's different.
This was on a remote.
It's a commercial tennis club.
Exactly. And it
wasn't being used. Pure tennis.
Yeah, pure tennis. It's just it doesn't roll as well, does it? No. But yeah, that's the story behind it. And anyway, luckily we got planning permission. We sorted it out with the LTA, and I didn't lose my hair.
Can I ask one question about that actually? Because obviously a lot's moved on from that now. So, do you still need to consult the LTA? And if you do need to consult them still, how are they with it now? Are they a lot more lenient now? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Have they got on board with paddle, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, because at the time they were kind of...
What's this?
If anything, they're going to... they were kind of a bit nervous of paddle because they were thinking, hang on a second, we tennis is our baby. We're getting all our money through tennis.
Yeah.
And then paddle's going to overtake. All the participation is going to drop in tennis, and paddle's going to boom. And now they're starting to warm up a bit. Their stance on it, and we tussle, us operators tussle a lot with the LTA because it's quite, we are in an ideal situation. We want to build on tennis courts because, as we said, we're saving so much on the capital expenditure on actually building the courts. The problem that is that the LTA say, well, there's a loss of tennis courts, and therefore, I don't quite understand their reasoning behind it, but they're saying that there's a loss of tennis courts, so why don't you build it somewhere else? But we're saying, well, there's already floodlights there. It's perfect. We don't even have to get...
No one plays.
We don't mind getting planning. That's fine. Or we can go in for a planning app on the tennis courts. That's fine. But there's floodlights. There's ground already there. It's just perfect. And it would be a lot easier to get planning on that. And the LTA are now warming up to it a bit. And they've got a full-on strategy, a rollout strategy on how they're going to help operators.
I mean, I think with the LTA, and this is speaking as a previous member of the LTA in tennis play, I mean, they're going to have to get on board with it. They've got no choice because from what I can see, a lot more people want to play paddle. It's more accessible, it's more sociable, and it's a lot easier to play than tennis because with tennis, if you can't serve, you can't play. Quite simple. Paddle, knock it in, quite easy. Anyone can have a go. So I think the LTA are going to need to get on board with paddle courts. There's absolutely no choice.
So what I'd say about the LTA is actually, I think that they've definitely warmed up to it a lot, and we're starting to have really great conversations with them. And what they do is they've created a matrix where a demand matrix. So they'll take a view and they'll say, right, there's 100 tennis courts in the area and only 3 paddle courts.
Okay.
Therefore, we don't mind losing 2 of those tennis courts.
It's like a ratio, essentially.
It's a ratio, but then they also assess the demand of the area. Right. So with every planning app now, we then have to apply the matrix. So we have to go, right, in this Surrey borough, there are X amount of tennis courts. There's 0 paddle courts.
That's your next site then, okay.
Yeah,
we've got that.
Actually, we should, no.
We can have that out.
Actually just got planning on it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. On 3 tennis courts.
Yeah.
For 6 paddle courts. Brilliant.
Obviously, you can fit more on, of course.
Yeah. So we got 6 paddle courts indoor covered with canopies on 3 tennis courts. And those tennis courts were completely trashed. There was no nets on it.
Was it a tennis club or?
It was not a tennis club. It was on the side of a leisure centre.
Okay.
Completely, as in the turf, there's mouldy. There's no tennis.
They weren't being used.
There's no nets, and there was literally 2 netball. Oh, and then Netball Association then kicked off.
That happened.
Oh God,
you have to talk about netball.
I mean, this thing. I don't even want to get into it. But anyway, the netball, and they literally just because they did a quick view on Google Maps and saw the netball nets on it and went, oh, there's netball on there. I mean, honestly, and this is the problem with and when we talk about one of the biggest challenges of the paddle industry, it's the planning permission. It's how all the NIMBYs. Do you know NIMBYs?
No,
not in my backyard.
Right.
It's like the
terminology.
The terminology. Yeah. It's basically just all the ecologists and neighbours.
The only reason I know that actually because my tennis club we've got informed we've got a paddle court and I know quite a few of the committee and they that's I think as of recording they're trying to get planning I think and I think always one of the no if they're going to get they've only got one up they've only got one course so they'll get another one.
Is that the one that Klopp funded? That was the other.
That's the other tennis club. They've just got planning actually, but Klopp's. I think in that club, Klopp's old court for Melwood's in the car park still not fit for you. So
the one I played on for the first time.
That's probably the same one to be fair, Sammy. But yeah, I think it's always the back boxes and all that sort of stuff that they need to get right. And obviously, like I said, noise pollution, light pollution. But I think the warming up, the planning, people you'll be able to tell.
No, they're not warming up at all.
They're not warming up at all.
One of the things you said, I remember one of the questions was how. Now going forward, if there's something that you wanted to know before starting the paddle,
what would it be?
Yeah, what would it be?
Okay, we may as well answer that now.
Yeah, I might as well. It's don't go anywhere near a house. As in what I mean is don't even try build a paddle club near housing. Right. So build it as far away as possible because you've got all the neighbours kicking off. You've got all the light pollution and the noise pollution and all
which
that.
Is legend noise pollution.
So obviously everyone would go, why don't you just build on my tennis club? They'd love paddle. It's perfect bit of land. But every tennis club that we know, it's always backing onto someone's garden.
The one that we've got, it's it backs onto a park, and then there's retirement flats behind us. That they've got away with it quite well there. To be
Sounds
fair.
lucky, yeah.
Yeah, it's lucky where they are. They're on like a peppercorn lease, I think, and they're in a church, essentially a church land. So they've got away with it quite a lot. But yeah, basically, your one tip to anyone building the paddle court is don't build near a house.
Don't, unless it's your private in your garden. But you need to have a pretty big garden to.
Yeah. So okay, Alderley Park's built then. I think where I've seen it probably take off in general in the UK is indoor, because in the UK we have lovely weather all year round, don't we? Obviously, I'm joking; it's terrible, but obviously indoor is where it's at. As a personally, me playing paddle, I'd rather play indoor. I actually think it's a different game indoor. By the way, to anyone watching this, I think if you play paddle to any sort of level, playing indoor is completely different. It's faster. I think it's better. You have longer rallies. I would advocate playing indoor. I'm sorry to Alderley Park. I mean, you can still play outdoor, but personally, I like indoor. Indoor's the best. So, day one, Manchester. I suppose let's go back before day one. So, how did you find the Manchester site? So, when did that come about?
Yeah.
And when was it through the benefits of obviously a lot of players at Alderley Park? Just tell me about what inspired you to build an indoor paddle club.
Yeah, so obviously I was operating. Alderley Park opened in October 2023. I was operating that. And during that time, I put in loads of planning applications, all outdoors. They would take, as I said, that can take 2 years. So I was like, right, I've now built this club, the Alderley Park one. It's going well. I've built the team around it. Great team. I'm now ready to open my next one. But all the planning apps were taking ages. I thought, right, we need to find some low-hanging fruit here. Why don't we find a shed where we don't have to get planning? And crazy story, but we found my dad said to me, by the way, the family office we own a shed in Cheetham Hill in Manchester, North Manchester.
Yeah.
And it's just
about a mile from the city centre, if anyone doesn't know, roughly, yeah.
Yeah, just opposite the AA Arena.
Yeah.
So it's actually not Cheetham Hill, by the way. It's opposite the AA Arena.
Okay, cool.
And it's just come available. I saw it first, which is they were the old tenants, have just left, and it's unoccupied. And it went out to market.
Okay.
And I remember stumbling across the brochure. Well, we looked at the brochure and we were like, hang on a second, it's 9.5 metre ceiling height, 10 metres, perfect for the paddle experience.
Yeah.
You know, that's like ideal. You know, most sheds we see are like 8.5 metres.
9.5.
This is
So
9.5, 10 metres.
Okay.
And it was 22,000 square feet. So that can normally fit 4 or 5. For some reason, 6 courts fit in literally like a glove. And it was almost as if
there's no more space left.
There's no more space. I mean, you've been there. It's every bit of the space.
Yeah, you've utilised it. Yeah,
you've utilised it. Yeah, we've utilised it. And so that warehouse, the background to that warehouse is that my granddad, when he came, when he immigrated from India during the India partition, he came to England.
Yeah.
And
what year was that?
This was in 1947 or 1948.
Wow. So just after World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the India partition, he escaped from India and Pakistan, fled into England, and set up a local cash and carry in North Manchester. Not in that warehouse, but on that land, he built it was actually an old post office distribution.
So the land's the same, but
he bought
smaller place. Yeah,
smaller place, but still that exact plot. Yeah. And then he ran it really successfully for 30 years, family business. And then 30 years later, on my dad's 18th birthday, it what do you call it? It set on fire.
Wow.
So it set on fire. It completely burnt down. It went into ashes, as in the whole place was just it crumbled down,
gone.
And it was left for 5, 6, 7 years while my dad and his 2 brothers started their own business, and then they built that warehouse. Then they used that land to run another business, which was a distribution warehouse. So they commissioned that building, 9.5 meters for huge pallet racking.
Yep.
9.5 meters. I mean, the place is brilliant.
It's almost like it's fate.
It's weird, and I feel like, you know, when my granddad came here and, you know, built it, and he obviously found the land. It's like it was just perfect. The footprint is just perfect, and it's almost, it is fate. Honestly, it's pretty strange. And
The way it was built, 9.5 meters, I think, as well.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you said, 7 meters, it's fine. I would have been like,
Yeah. Sorry, we can't
come on,
use that.
granddad.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay. So that's a really interesting story. So that's how you found.
So yeah, that's how I found it.
That's how you found
and that
it.
came available. Obviously, we could do
At the time you were looking.
Looking at the time, we could do a quick deal. Obviously, when I say deal, I was negotiating with my uncles and my dad.
So no mates rates then?
Yeah, I know. If you're watching this, big paps,
Yeah.
But yeah, and then again, it would have been it was one of those, I had to go in quickly. We quickly applied for planning, change of use.
Obviously, as people know, Manchester is a property hotspot. It is just like on fire. It's like London was probably 5 years ago. Everyone wants to buy in Manchester, so I'm assuming probably someone to buy it, maybe develop a big tower on it or something. So you'll have had hot competition there.
And that's the thing. So that's why we could only huge competition, because there's that area of Manchester. There's going to be there's a skyscraper just next to it.
Anyone that plays there, you'll know. It's cranes there all the time.
Yeah,
in Manchester in general.
So that area is going to be so much resi around there. So there's huge competition for it. And we just took a punt and we went in pretty quickly, and it was the best decision we ever made. Reason being was because it just it solidified the fact that how important indoor paddle is and how much better the experience is, as you've already told.
I mean, yeah, just a personal experience. I think it's a lot better. But obviously, Alderley Park as well. You mentioned, or outdoor clubs. That's why you pay a bit of a premium to play indoor, because the experience is better. If you're not, if you just want to go and have a knock around in the sun, then go and play outdoor. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you're a serious paddle player, you want to try and play indoor.
The way I think of it is that if you're brand new to the sport, the classic customer journey, or if you've never played paddle before, you play outdoors. It's cheap and cheerful. You'll pay for a quick intro to paddle, and you'll be like, bloody hell, I got it off the wall once. It's like golf. When you go to the driving range and you like ping one, and you hit 250 duds, but one is one of the best, and it just brings you back. It's similar to paddle. You learn how to hit off the black wall once, and you're there.
Yeah.
You're hooked.
Then you're hooked.
But that's outdoors. So then you get really addicted, and you just end up playing every day or every other day with your friends, even in the snow, even in the rain.
We've done that.
And I've done it.
You did it when you decided to set up.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was victim of that. When I say victim, actually edit that bit out. You're not victims, guys. And so anyway, played. So you basically play every day, outdoors. And then when you start getting better, and then you start reading it off the walls a bit more, that's when you realise. And then you play indoors once. Yeah. As you said, it's a completely different game. The ball doesn't die off the wall. No. It's a lot faster. You put a way more sweat on. I don't know if you noticed that. You're dripping at the end of it.
I wear a Whoop. I've mentioned this before. I don't know if you've got a Whoop or you've seen them, but obviously it's a bit like an Apple Watch. Someone's got an Apple Watch. And I look actually indoor and outdoor.
Oh, do you see a difference?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like heart rate. So like my average heart rate indoor in a really competitive game, I can go up to 140 average, which is quite high, but that's a really good game.
140 beat.
Beats per minute, which in a really, really good game. Probably normally it's like 130, 135. Outdoor, it's a lot lower. It's like 115, 120. Wow. Now, I personally think that's because the rallies aren't as long.
Yep.
So obviously, with longer rally, heart rate's going to be up. Yep. So indoor, you have, if anyone doesn't understand, you probably got the gist now, is you get longer rallies indoor because, like you said, the ball doesn't have the glass, there's no wet, and you just seem to you have longer rallies for that reason. So yeah, longer rallies indoor. And
then I also feel from your own kind of fitness level, or just when you feel you've been to the gym and you put a massive sweat on, you feel great about yourself. I feel like you get that in indoor
100%,
because you're dripping and you're going, right, I feel like I've done a proper workout now.
100% indoor. Listen, outdoor, if you're playing in a nice climate, which we unfortunately don't have, then maybe you will get a bit of a sweat on. I go to La Manga quite a bit. And you get a bit of a sweat on, but nothing like indoor. It's if people want a proper cardio workout and enjoy it rather than go on a treadmill for an hour, just go and play paddle for an hour and a half.
Mm. And another key learning, and we talk about key learnings from the difference between Alderley Park, our outdoor club, and our indoor club in Manchester, is in Alderley Park we don't have a bar, and we don't have a drinks offering. We've got 2 vending machines with balls in one and then drinks
and rackets as well.
The other one, we didn't realise how many drinks we'd sell in Manchester.
Drink any drink.
When I mean drinks, I mean soft drinks, energy drinks,
beers,
vitamin drinks,
beers as well.
Beers. I mean, we sell Neckel and Cruz Campo. We sell 20 or 30 pints a day. I mean, we're making significant money behind the bar. If we were just a bar itself, I said if we would, making significant. We could actually run as just a bar and have no paddle revenue.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was a really key learning, selling rackets, selling balls. Yep. There's that whole, and the social side. So
you've obviously got the courts, which obviously I'm assuming the way Playtomic works, you book on the app, they take probably their court or whatever, you get the revenue in.
Yeah.
But obviously, so from a revenue percentage then, and I'm not asking for figures, but in terms of percentage, what split do you think it is actual court costs versus like additionals? If you're making £100, you make £100 on a court, what percentage would be court costs in you bring it in, and what percentage would be your beers and your balls, would you say roughly?
It's 7 to 10% of all our revenue is ancillary. So when I say ancillary, it's just
everything else,
everything behind the bar.
Yeah.
So 90%, let's call it 90% is all courts.
Yeah, but then you got that extra bit of revenue,
and that pays for the staffing.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, so actually all the paddle is gravy.
Yeah.
It's
buns.
Yeah.
Another word for it, but yeah, no. That's
is that the Scouse term for it?
Probably, yeah. You've learned a new word today.
Well,
we'll elaborate that. Basically, when we were away in PSG, Sammy,
don't embarrass
Sammy. I know it's fine. Sammy come over to me and goes, "I believe you're a wool because you're from Formby." And even producer Dylan's laughing at that because he's probably agreeing, although he's from Northern Ireland, so I don't know how much he can say on that. But and then I proceeded to tell Sammy that he was a big wool as well. But anyway,
from Cheshire, even further away.
Even further away. So yeah, you've got 2 wools and a producer wool. Anyway, great. But all right, cool. So let's talk about the growth strategy then. So I read online within about 5 years, you want to open 30 plus clubs. Yeah, you're at 2. You've announced another one in Darlington, which is great. So in 2025, how many clubs are you going to have at the end of the year? And you can look back on this as well. This is your goal setting strategy now. So how many are you going to have?
So we've got obviously 2 open now.
Yeah.
We're going to have 7 more opening
on top of the 2.
On top of the 2. So
all indoor?
9. There's one club that's outdoor that we didn't quite get planning for canopies.
Okay.
But we're going to go and put in another application in maybe a year's time. But the rest all covered or indoors in a warehouse.
So those 7 that you've got, are they all in the pipeline? And obviously Darlington you can mention, you put on your social media, but the others then they're all, you know where they are. Yeah.
So there's one in Surrey, there's one in Solihull, one in North Leeds, one in Nottingham, one in Glasgow, and one in Prestwich, just north of Manchester.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
So
why Prestwich?
It's a really wealthy demographic there.
Yeah.
It's actually one that we actually put in for a planning application 2 years ago.
Wow.
And actually,
got that back.
Yeah. But it's 4 covered courts.
Yeah.
It will be and low rent, so it's a really, really great business model, that one too.
Yeah. So Pure Padel, what makes it different from your competitors? Why? So obviously, to give a bit of context behind that, I'll re-ask the question once I give the context. So if I look at, there's a few good paddle clubs knocking around. There's also a few not so good in my opinion, but I'm not going to name them because that wouldn't be fair. But what makes you better than the rest? What makes Pure Padel the best paddle brand in the UK? So
ever since we opened Manchester, I realised that it's the hospitality industry that we're in. It's all about customer service and providing excellent customer service. The way I believe we're going to get loyalty in the paddle industry, at the end of the day, Playtomic, the booking system, you can see every competitor on there.
So it's almost like a bit of a leaderboard between yourselves as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's good.
It's great. It's great for competition. But at the end of the day, as a customer, you'll be able to see every club in your area. So the loyalty, it's very difficult to gain customer loyalty because at the end of the day, you're just going to be driven by price. So we find that the way we're going to drive loyalty is by it's the way you feel at the club. You want to feel at home at all our clubs. So I spend loads of time and effort on recruitment and making sure that the people that I've got in my clubs are just the best at customer service.
And just to add to that, I don't really play Oldley Park, but yeah, I did actually. Lewis looked after Oldley Park. Lewis is really good, and obviously you've done really well with Tommy and Jose, and obviously Sunil and Alberto, and everyone. I'm sorry, I missed a few people. They were sort of the main people when you started out. When I started playing there in October 24, that's right, isn't it? They're the main people that you had at the start. And to be fair, one thing I've noticed at your paddle clubs is people haven't really changed, so they must be really, really happy. Obviously, the staffing is obviously, I think it's the hardest thing when you're setting up, growing a business. Staffs, they're a representation of your brand, an extension of you and your brand. And I think one thing you've done really well from what I've seen is obviously bringing the right people in, which allows you to focus on the acquisitions, working on the business rather than in the business. Obviously, they're working in the business day to day for you, looking after the customers, making sure you get repeat custom, which as you've said you do. But building the right team allows you to work on what's going to move the needle, which is great.
Exactly. And it means that I don't have to get so bogged down in the club's operations as such, as in the nitty gritty, because I can look at the overall picture because I've got such brilliant staff. And second of all, I think because people love coming to see. I want to make sure that all my staff remember your name, remember that you're a Liverpool fan, remember you're a Wool, and I like and no, but do you see what I mean? And they'll go, "Oh, how was the PSG game yesterday?" And I want them to remember that. I want you to feel at home as if you go to work, you go home, or you come to Pure Padel, which is your third space.
The only problem you've got with that is the only one problem as a Liverpool fan is in the middle of Manchester. You're not going to get Tommy asking me how the PSG game was because we won.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're watching that, but he's not going to ask me. But no, I get the gist of what you mean. Absolutely. First name terms. You see it again, watching it from afar, you see it of all the people you got working for you as well, which is great.
So another thing I believe we've done really well on with regarding our staff, and is that they see the bigger picture, i.e. we're not just one paddle club.
Yeah,
we're on a huge journey, and they're all come and joined. They've come and joined us on this journey. All of my staff, they're all looking at the growth plans.
I've seen Jose obviously went to Darlington with you, for example. Yeah,
Jose is coming with me to help open up the new club. Lewis is coming to open up. So he was club manager at Oldley Park. He's now been promoted to club manager of a club that we're opening in Poynton.
Okay, so
So they don't see it as a stagnant role. They see growth opportunities. And that's one thing I think I've done really well. And one thing that's great about the business is that they see huge growth potential for us.
Within the business.
So I think all my staff, even the coaches, they could go right there, coach. Then
we use Alberto as an example. He's paddle coach of Liverpool now.
Yeah.
So he's come to you. And this is Alberto Cubero, is that how you pronounce his name? Sorry, Alberto, if you're watching. But Alberto, he's a 6 on Playtime. I can see him recently as well, which he probably is. He's really good. But he's obviously the paddle coach at Liverpool now.
At the AXA. Yeah.
Which I was just like, wow, that is really, really cool. Yeah. I've started wearing Manchester United shirts now, Alberto, by the way.
Yeah.
But he's a paddle coach at the AXA, which is just, if you look at that, obviously I know he's still with you, but that's the personal development. Even though, strictly speaking, listen, it's just the guys, I'm not saying they're all great paddle players, but just having that on his CV.
It's brilliant. It's a great experience for him too.
It's huge.
Working
with athletes, when he goes, brilliant.
Yeah. I heard Slot's a brilliant player too, so we need to get him in.
We did the one with Gary Lineker, didn't he, on the BBC thing? And Lineker, he weren't that good, to be fair. But Slot looked really good. He looked really keen. He was doing a Klopp, wasn't he? Teaching them all the rules and that.
Exactly.
You need to go and have a game with Klopp.
I'd love that.
Not with Klopp, with Slot, sorry.
Well, actually, when I was talking about my Klopp story, all I think about now is how bad I was then when I first played, and all I want to do is have a game with him now.
You're still bad now, what do you mean?
3.8, thank you very much.
Well, that's what happens when you know the Playtomic CEO and all fairness. But anyway, if I knew him, I'd be about 7, I reckon. So, all right, so 5 years' time, where do you see Pure Padel?
So in 5 years, I hope we will have 30 plus sites by then. And I want to be the David Lloyd of paddle. So what I mean by that is, when you think of David Lloyd, you think tennis. When you think of tennis clubs in the UK, I think you think of, when you think of rackets clubs in the UK, I think people just think of David Lloyd's. They're like the pioneers, and they're the They're the ideal.
Yeah,
they're
they're epitome of sports clubs, aren't they? Really,
in the UK.
Yeah, obviously you're niching down on paddle, of course, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you want to be the David Lloyd of paddle in 5 years?
In 5 years, with 30 plus sites.
Yeah,
and with a brilliant team behind me, all and hopefully making some really good money.
Well, I'm sure you are, because everyone wants to play paddle. So I think it's a great business model.
The only thing I'm pretty nervous about is just the price driving down. Obviously, as a customer, you want the price to be.
No, of course, yeah. But I think also, you'll done your research more than me because it's your bag, not mine. But the price will probably come down. But I'm sure you factored that into your business model. And as long as you make a loads of money up front now, and make hay while the sun shines, you probably pay for a lot of your upfront capex, and
right.
and then you'll go, okay, there's a lot more profit now, albeit less than when we started in some respects. But I'm sure you've built that into your budget.
Yeah. So I think it'd be funny to watch this in 5 years, but I think that the outdoor courts, I think the price will go down really significantly because of how easy it is. It will become easier to build outdoor paddle courts in the future. Your local tennis club will build 1 or 2. They'll charge peanuts. They'll charge 10 quid an hour because they just need the cash.
Yeah.
So the outdoor courts, the covered courts and the indoor courts, there's always going to be a premium on that. So no matter what, because of the rent and the prices of warehouses in the UK, they're not coming down anytime soon. And so to even break even, we need to be charging.
Well, let me ask you a question then. So obviously with more paddle courts coming up in the UK, would you ever consider bringing in a membership model, obviously mixed in with obviously pay to play as well? Would you look at a hybrid model in the future? I'm talking about
100%. Yeah. So the reason why we do pay to play now, which is no membership fees, is I want to lower the barriers to entry. I want as many people experiencing paddle as possible.
Yeah.
As soon as you experience paddle, as you'll know, you're in.
Yeah.
You're hooked. So I want as many people. I want as many people to play paddle as possible, and then once everyone knows about it, then you can start integrating membership models where you can. Maybe if you're a member, you get X amount of free games, or you get discounts on your courts, or But that's something that we're definitely going to integrate in a couple of years' time.
Brilliant. So I've never done this on the podcast before. Don't worry, there's no need to worry, by the way. But I want to try and do some quick fire questions, something very new for me. And
is that ChatGPT?
Yes, absolutely. Takes one to know one, Sammy. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's ChatGPT, but also as well, I've edited one sentence of it. So, what's been your biggest win with Pure Padel so far?
Opening the first indoor club in the Northwest. That's been the biggest win because we got first move advantage in, and we dictated the price. As in, when I say dictated the price, we set our price pretty high. And we've still got really loyal customers, and customers are coming back to us, and it's operating really, really well.
Cool. What's one rule you live by as an entrepreneur?
That's a great question.
Take your time.
I'd say I'm really transparent with my employees. Yeah. And actually with everyone, I kind of say it how it is.
I think you are. You call me a wall, don't you? So
yeah. But I say it how it is because I feel like, I've always found when people are fake, or when you can just tell when someone's hiding something. Yeah. Whereas when I'm with all my employees, all my suppliers, I say it how it is. I'm confident enough to say it how it is. And I'll tell them
So transparency.
Transparency, I think.
Cool. This is a funny question, actually. If you could only play one sport for the rest of your life, will it be paddle or something else?
It'd have to be paddle.
Is that because you've got paddle?
No, company? I think the best thing about it is it's something I can actually play with my family. I can play with my family. I can play with anyone. I can play with my friends. I can play with my family, and you can also get a great sweat on. And it doesn't feel like you're burning calories on a treadmill.
Okay, you're still a relatively young man, as some would say I am, but it's all levels in life, isn't it?
Not with that hairline.
No, maybe not. It's obviously going. But what's one piece of advice you'd give your 18-year-old self?
I'd say don't take yourself too seriously, or don't take anyone too seriously, and don't take anything personally. I feel like and also surrounding yourself around really good people and hardworking and motivating people, because I think when you have really smart friends or friends that are driven, you also are driven.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that I've surrounded myself with great friends from Durham and my boarding school. So yeah, definitely it's surround yourself around really good people and hardworking people.
Right, complete this sentence. Paddle in the UK in 3 years will be
in the Olympics.
Nice.
Actually, wait. Well, yeah, it's the 2020.
Yeah, okay. So you think it'll be? Yeah, I think it will be.
That's?
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's contentious. It's. I'm not 100% sure. And no one's too optimistic, but I hope it is, because it will really help raise the awareness of the sport.
Do you want me to give you my answer to it?
Go on.
Paddle in the UK in 3 years will be the largest sport by a country mile.
When you say larger sport, do you mean by
the most participants? Yes, sorry, yes. So yeah, it'll have the most participants, 100%.
No way. Think about how many. So football, for example, everyone plays football.
No, absolutely, but I just think,
and you've got to be you've got to have a certain amount of disposable income. I just think
there's going to be a lot of funding around it. I could be. We'll see I could be completely wrong, but I just think it's going to take off, and I think there might be a lot of funding around it. And again, the paddle clubs, like Pure Padel, for example, will have a space. I just think everyone's going to start playing it. But listen, we'll look back in 3 years, mate.
Can't wait to watch this in 3 years.
You'll be watching it every week.
Be watching it in the Olympics.
Absolutely. They'll be going, bloody hell, let's invite these two. They know what they're talking about. So what's the next big thing in paddle nobody's expecting?
The competition, the Premier Padel Championships and the international tournaments are really exciting, and the hospitality and the buzz around it is great.
Okay, what's the best piece of advice you have ever received?
So my dad, who's also a businessman, he's always said to me, whatever you do in business, make sure you can sleep at night. Just make sure you can sleep at night by whatever you do, whatever decision you make. So whether that's a bit of VAT here and there, or it doesn't have to be something really dodgy. It's just make sure you do everything to the book, because otherwise you don't want to be preoccupied by the tax man or any other external person that's going to come for your back. And so he's always said, keep everything by the book.
Brilliant. And last one, what's one habit that's made you more successful?
I read the news every morning and every night now. I've done that. I've started that recently. And
442.
442. Yeah. I read the Times, and I think it's great for me to read the business news, because A, it gives me some great conversations to talk to people about, but B, just expanding my own knowledge and potential any other opportunities.
So yeah, one thing I'd say on that, it's a good answer that, by the way, is I used to watch the news quite a lot, but I think it's just so depressing now where I try and stay away from the general news. One magazine that I recommend anyone to read, and I actually started reading this magazine because I worked in a hedge fund. I say worked, internship when I was younger. And the head fund manager there told me to read Money Week.
Oh,
and if
is that in The Economist or not?
No, it's like The Economist, but it's a bit lighter. So The Economist can go, a bit heavy in terms of sort of the political stuff and graphs. And if you're into all that, it's great. I like The Economist. I don't buy it weekly. If I'm on a plane, I normally buy it and have a flick through. But the Money Week, if you've got Apple Plus, which I think it's about 30 quid a month or something, and you get all your music and all that's worth getting, actually. Apple Plus, it comes in the magazines on that as well, so you can flick through it on your phone, or you can subscribe to it directly. It should be on commission here. But so yeah, Money Week's a good one. And I'd recommend, if you don't read that, it gives you all the business news.
Yeah, because you know how you're saying you know how you're talking about how the news is depressing.
Yeah.
I always flick straight to the business section.
Yeah, well,
because
there you go.
The politics and stuff like.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to keep up with current affairs, isn't it? In terms of that sort of stuff. But it's normally just war or people slagging each other off. Which is, if I read something religiously once a week, it's Money Week.
Yeah, brilliant.
And that's the best mag. So I'd recommend you read it as well. Get Apple Plus. Just get on your phone, have a little flick through once a week.
Nice. Cheers, Dad.
anytime, son. You need advice building paddle courts, let me know. All right, cool. So I think we'll wrap it up. So for anyone who wants to check out Pure Padel or connect with you or the club, what should they do? Where should they go?
I think just add me on LinkedIn, Sammy Arora. And yeah, would love to chat. One thing I've always taken on too, is that there's no such thing as a bad meeting. So when I say a bad meeting, as in just meet. If someone asks you for a meeting, just even if it's 2 minutes, you might gain something out of it. Yeah. So I'm always really happy to chat to people, and hear what they would like to say. So I never really reject meetings as such. That doesn't mean
cool.
I've kind of
got to catch up tomorrow.
Yeah, literally.
All right, cool. And any final words? So is there anything that you want to leave our audience thinking about? Or let me rephrase that. Is there anything you want to leave your audience thinking about? This is for you as well, mate. So anything you want to know, want to say?
I'd just say, for any of our current customers, thank you for coming down and supporting us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I know you're I think it's one of those, we obviously learned so much on how to operate the clubs, and there's been so many changes, but thank you to everyone who's kind of stuck with us, and we're going to create a really exciting brand for the next 5 years.
I think you've already created an exciting brand, to be fair. I think you've done that. Obviously, it's a long way to go and you want to build again, but I think you've created something that's really good.
Brilliant.
And I think you've done really well. So well done.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me on this podcast. First ever one. I've lost my podcast virginity.
You have indeed. You have indeed. You've done well. It's been really good. I've enjoyed it. So thanks for everyone for watching. It's been great. Thanks to Sammy. Thanks to Pure Padel for rinsing me of a lot of money per month. That's great as well, but that's all part of the fun. And we'll see you all in the next one.